Shabbat Shalom. With the passing of Jacob, the last of the patriarchs, we are privy to a dramatic deathbed scene as he gives parting blessings to all of his sons in this week's Torah reading, Vayechi. He also blesses two of his grandchildren, the sons of his son Joseph, who are Ephraim and Manasseh. Any of you who've ever followed the ancient practice of blessing one's children on a Friday evening around the Shabbat table might be familiar with some of the words we discover here, with which Jacob blesses his grandsons. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Manasseh. The complete blessing, as it is found here in its original context of Vayechi, is known as Hamalach HaGoel, the redeeming angel, and is traditionally recited before bedtime. The God in whose ways my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd from birth to this day. And then the subject switches from God to the angel who has redeemed me from harm. Bless the boys. In them may my name be recalled, and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and may they be as teeming multitudes upon the earth. This prayer, calling for gifts of and blessings from angels, is authored by a man who has had an unusual amount of experience with angels. Jacob, during his lifetime, we will remember, has a particular experience one night with a ladder that stretches from heaven to earth with angels climbing up and down the ladder. In another incident, he encounters an angel wrestling with him all night long, right up until dawn. And now, as he lies on his deathbed, he leaves a legacy behind to his grandchildren, arguably to us, in this very day, that angels should play a role in their or our lives too. All of this might sound quite distant to us, quite removed from our own experiences. How many of us can say that we encounter angels in our lives? Well, actually, I spoke about angels just a few weeks ago. At the time, it was about guardian angels who we're told look out for us. And I confessed at the time that I'm not sure how much I truly believe in them. Well, considering that I've never really thought much about angels, I'm surprised to catch myself thinking about them again for the second time in just a matter of weeks, as the thought has been triggered this time for me by this week's Parashat. The more I've been thinking about angels and the role that they've played in our people's history as told by Torah, I found it interesting to reflect on how our sages have focused on various mentions of angels and have incorporated these sections of our texts into our liturgy and our expressions of faith. While some ancient rabbis who composed some of our enduring prayers decided to include angels quite prominently in their compositions intended for Jewish reflection and contemplation, others were quite opposed to this practice. For example, throughout the Middle Ages, some of the great scholars such as Maimonides, Abravanel, Rabbi Joseph Kimchi, voiced their discomfort with the growing presence of angels in the liturgy and their prescribed role almost as these kind of interlocutors between us and the divine on our behalf. As the great Rabbi Joseph Kimchi wrote in the 12th century, true penitence does not stand in need of intervention by the saints, feigned penitence will not be helped by either the dead or the saints, by man or by angel. And while some might be comfortable with the idea of angels doing our bidding for us to God, these words of Joseph Kimchi are particularly resonant for me, as they present angels in a similar light to the saints, a source of faith and object of devotion that we more frequently hear about in Christian circles. In contrast, what has always struck me as so compelling about Jewish faith at its core, is the notion that there really is no one who intervenes on our behalf. There are no ambassadors necessary between ourselves and God. Instead, we, all of us, are handed God's direct number, which we should feel free to use at any time. It's the ultimate in religious democracy and empowerment of the individual that Jewish faith believes that any Jew has direct access to God, rendering agents and angels similarly unnecessary. Earlier, I mentioned that Jacob's blessing to his grandchildren became incorporated with the prayer that Jews recite before bed. At other times, I've also mentioned to you that nighttime was historically viewed as a time of tremendous vulnerability for a host of different reasons that I won't repeat right now, which made prayer especially necessary before going to bed. Rabbi Yitzchak taught in the Talmud, if one recites the Shema before bed, demons are kept away from them. Nighttime was a time when one needed to pull out all the stops, praying not only directly to God, but including Jacob's prayer to the angels for their protection from dangers and demons that emerge at night. And then, before it's quite light out's time, an additional invocation of some angels takes place. The words, "The angel Michael is at my right hand, Gabriel at my left, in front of me Uriel, behind me Raphael." Joshua Rubin teaches at myjewishlearning.com. Following the major portions of the bedtime Shema, the liturgy concludes with Adon Olam, commonly known for its recitation at the end of synagogue services. This addition is not found in the earliest texts of the bedtime Shema, but German rabbi and historian Ismar Ellbogen concluded that Adon Olam was an older nighttime prayer. Its last line sums up the theme found throughout the bedtime Shema: "When I sleep, as when I wake, God is with me. I have no fear." So, call me boring, but this theological fidelity and single focus really works for me, going straight to the source without messing about with any other deity, agent that might volunteer to intervene for us. What should you do? If you've got something good going on with the angels, then by all means, keep it up. As long as you don't suspect that your late Aunt Irma has turned into some miracle-working angel who's putting in a good word for you to God. And I know Aunt Irma was quite a powerhouse in her day. But my concern, my fear, if you want to call it that, my anxiety, is that we might go beyond just cherishing the memory of Aunt Irma and praying for her eternal ascent of her neshama, that we might overstep the mark and actually start making a new religion out of Aunt Irma now that she's gone. That, to me, is the danger in the saints, that we turn these people into religious characters who become the focus of our prayer and our attention instead of going directly to the source, instead of going straight to God, God's self. So while it's wonderful for us to continue to love and think about our loved ones once they've left this earth, and to imagine them in the heavens with God, to pray for their continued elevation and ascent of their souls, they should not become the focus of our religious devotion. That has to be reserved for God. Just saying. Shabbat Shalom. And with that, I promise that this will be the last about angels from me, at least until next week. Shabbat Shalom.